Question 88. The just desert theory of punishment and the deterrent approach to punishment. Introduction. Understanding the moral purpose of punishment. Punishment has always been one of the most debated themes in political and legal philosophy. The central question is, why should society punish? And what is the moral justification for inflicting suffering on an offender? Two major modern approaches to this question are the just desert theory, which is rooted in moral retribution and justice, and the deterrent theory, which focuses on preventing future crimes through fear of consequences. Both theories reflect different moral and social foundations. The former emphasizes justice and fairness, while the latter stresses utility and prevention. The just desert theory of punishment. 1. Meaning and essence. The just desert theory, or retributive justice theory, holds that punishment should be morally proportionate to the gravity of the crime, neither excessive nor lenient. The phrase just deserts means that the offender deserves punishment because he has committed a moral wrong, and justice requires giving each person what he deserves. It is not about revenge but moral balance, restoring the harmony disturbed by the crime. This theory reaffirms the moral principle that wrongdoing must be met with rightful consequence. Example: if someone commits theft, they must suffer a penalty proportionate to their wrongdoing, not out of hatred, but to affirm justice. 2. Philosophical basis: retribution, not revenge. The just desert theory originates in classical retributivism, notably advanced by Immanuel Kant and Hegel, who viewed punishment as a moral necessity. Kant's view. Kant argued that punishment must be given because the offender has committed a crime, not because it produces social benefit. He stated, punishment must never be imposed merely as a means of promoting some other good, but must be imposed only because the individual has committed a crime. Thus, even if society were to dissolve tomorrow, Kant maintained, the last murderer must still be executed not for deterrence, but for justice. Hegel's view. Hegel regarded punishment as the negation of the negation, a way of restoring the moral order violated by the crime. Hence, punishment according to the just desert principle is a moral response to wrongdoing, not a tool for utility or reform. 3 main principles of the just desert theory. Moral responsibility. Every individual is a rational moral agent responsible for their actions. When one chooses to violate the law, they choose the consequence that follows, punishment. 2. Proportionality. Punishment must be proportionate to the severity of the offense. Excessive punishment would be unjust, and leniency would fail to respect the seriousness of the crime. 3. Equality before the moral law. Justice demands that similar crimes receive similar punishments, ensuring fairness and consistency. 4. Restoration of moral order. Crime disturbs the moral harmony of society. Punishment restores that balance by reaffirming the authority of law and justice. Desert, not utility. Punishment is justified because it is deserved, not because it is useful in deterring others or reforming the offender. 4. Distinction between retribution and revenge. While the just desert theory is based on retribution, it should not be confused with revenge. Revenge is personal, emotional, and often excessive. Retribution is impersonal, rational, and proportionate, administered through lawful authority. Thus, retributive punishment serves justice, not hatred. 5. Modern interpretation, just desert as fairness. In modern criminal justice philosophy, the just desert theory has been reformulated as a principle of fairness and proportional justice rather than vengeance. Modern theorists like Andrew von Hirsch, 1976, Doing Justice, revived this concept, arguing that punishment should be commensurate with the blameworthiness of the offender, neither arbitrary nor instrumental. In contemporary democracies, this theory ensures that punishment is proportionate to the crime, consistent across cases, and administered within due process of law. Example, sentencing guidelines in modern judicial systems, example, US or UK, are based on the just desert principle to ensure proportionality and fairness. 6. Merits of the just desert theory. 1. Upholds moral justice, ensures that wrongdoing is morally acknowledged and addressed. 2. Prevents arbitrary punishment, promotes proportionality and fairness. 3. Respects human dignity, treats offenders as moral agents responsible for their actions. 4. Deters excessive state power, limits punishment to what is deserved, preventing cruelty. 5. Strengthens faith in law. Citizens respect the legal system when punishment is fair and consistent. 7. Demerits of the just desert theory. 1. Neglects social causes of crime, ignores poverty, psychological, or social conditions behind criminal acts. 2. No focus on prevention or reform, concerned with justice for the past, not preventing future crimes. 3. Rigid and abstract, may lead to overly legalistic application without considering individual circumstances. 4. Ethical dilemma, fails to address whether all crimes truly deserve suffering, example, crimes born of desperation. Despite these limitations, the just desert theory remains morally significant because it insists that punishment must be just, proportionate, and deserved, not arbitrary or excessive. 2. The deterrent approach to punishment. 1. Meaning and core idea. The deterrent theory of punishment is based on the idea that the fear of punishment prevents people from committing crimes. Its central objective is not to seek retribution, but to discourage future wrongdoing by making an example of the offender. In essence, the theory views punishment as a means to control behavior, ensuring that potential criminals refrain from unlawful acts due to fear of unpleasant consequences. As Jeremy Bentham, the founder of utilitarianism, famously said, "The purpose of punishment is to prevent future offenses, not to undo what has been done." 2. Philosophical foundation. Utilitarianism. The deterrent approach arises from utilitarian ethics, developed by Jeremy Bentham and Cesare Beccaria. They argued that punishment should aim at maximizing social happiness and minimizing harm. Punishment, though painful, is justified if it prevents greater harm by discouraging crime. Thus, punishment is not about moral desert, but social utility. 3. Types of deterrence. I. Individual deterrence, specific deterrence. Punishment should discourage the offender himself from repeating the crime. Example, imprisoning a thief not only punishes him but prevents him from stealing again during confinement. 2. General deterrence. Punishment should serve as a warning to others. When society witnesses that crime leads to suffering, potential offenders are deterred. Example, public trials and sentencing aim to instill fear of law in the general public. 4 features of the deterrent approach. 1. Punishment as fear. The central mechanism is psychological. The fear of suffering outweighs the desire to commit crime. 2. Swift and certain justice. Deterrence works best when punishment is certain and prompt, not merely severe. 3. Proportional severity. The punishment must be serious enough to outweigh the gain from the crime. 4. Social protection prevents recurrence of crime and maintains public order. 5 examples of deterrence in practice. 1. Death penalty for heinous crimes aims to deter potential murderers through fear of ultimate punishment. 2. Strict anti-corruption and drug laws create strong legal deterrents for crimes threatening society. 3. Traffic fines and penalties, everyday deterrence mechanisms that shape civic behavior. 6. Merits of the deterrent theory. 1. Prevention of crime reduces crime by instilling fear of punishment. 2. Public confidence in law maintains social discipline and respect for legal order. 3. Pragmatic and utilitarian focuses on practical outcomes rather than moral debates. 4. Rehabilitation through fear. Even habitual offenders may reform out of self-interest. 7. Demerits of the deterrent theory. 1. Ineffective against hardened criminals. Habitual offenders may not fear punishment. 2. Moral and ethical concerns. Over-reliance on fear can make justice harsh and inhuman. 3. Failure of certainty. In societies with slow justice systems, delayed punishment loses deterrent value. 4. Neglect of reform focuses only on prevention, not moral or social improvement. 5. Disproportionate severity may justify overly harsh penalties to create fear, violating human rights. 8. Modern reinterpretation of deterrence. Modern legal systems combine deterrence with other aims like rehabilitation and reformation. The emphasis is not on cruelty but on certainty, proportionality, and fairness of punishment to deter rational individuals. Example, in democratic systems, deterrence is achieved not through terror, but through predictable legal consequences and public trust in justice. 3. Comparative insight, just desert and deterrent theories. While both theories justify punishment, their moral foundations differ. Aspect: just desert theory. Deterrent theory. Moral basis: justice and moral. Desert. Purpose: to give offender what he deserves. Utility and prevention: to prevent future crimes. Future. Focus: view of offender. Nature of punishment: past act, moral responsibility. Moral agent accountable. Proportionate and just. Behavior, social safety. Rational actor who fears pain. Exemplary and preventive. Both remain relevant. Modern legal systems often combine them, ensuring punishment is both just and socially useful. 4. Summary for quick understanding: just desert theory, rooted in moral justice. Punishment given because it is deserved. Based on proportionality and moral responsibility. Associated with Kant and Hegel, modernized by von Hirsch. Ensures fairness and moral accountability. Deterrent theory. Rooted in utilitarianism. Punishment given to prevent future crimes. Focuses on fear, certainty, and proportionality. Associated with Bentham and Beccaria. Ensures public order and crime prevention. Quick revision notes. Just desert. Responsibility. Deterrent. Justice, proportionality, moral. Fear, prevention, social utility. Kant. Punish because he deserves it. Bentham. Evil. Punish only if it prevents greater. Modern law. Combines justice, retributive, and prevention, deterrent. One-line questions and answers for revision. 1. What does just desert mean? The offender deserves punishment proportionate to the crime. 2. Who are the chief exponents of the just desert theory? Immanuel Kant and Hegel. 3. What is the focus of the deterrent theory? Prevention of crime through fear of punishment. 4. Who founded the utilitarian basis of deterrence? Jeremy Bentham and Cesare Beccaria. 5. What does proportionality mean in the just desert theory? Punishment must fit the gravity of the crime. 6. What is general deterrence? Preventing others from committing similar crimes by example. 7. What is specific deterrence? Preventing the same offender from repeating the crime. 8. Which theory emphasizes justice rather than utility? Just desert theory. 9. Which theory emphasizes fear rather than fairness? Deterrent theory. 10. Which modern thinker revived the just desert concept? Andrew von Hirsch. Final connection. The just desert theory reflects the moral and ethical phase of justice, ensuring that punishment remains fair and deserved. The deterrent theory, on the other hand, represents the practical and social function of punishment, safeguarding public order through prevention. A modern justice system blends both, ensuring that punishment is just enough to satisfy moral fairness and certain enough to deter crime, thus balancing justice with social utility and law with humanity.